sensation already.
Please turn your phone off, Tom Brokaw.
Tom Brokaw.
Good Lord. The Republican Party has swept control of Congress. And they did it, Joe, through big wins in battlegrounds that were thought to be a lot tighter than they actually were.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was not even close. It wasn't even close.
The GOP has gained at least 7 seats. We're waiting. It wasn't close in Kentucky.
It wasn't in Kentucky, where Mitch McConnell easily beat his Democratic opponent, Alison Lundergan, and one of the key victories also was in Iowa, where Jonah Ernst beat Congressman Bruce Braley. Another big win for the Republicans was in North Carolina. We were just talking about this before. Tom Tillis defied the polls to unseat Kay Hagan.
In Arkansas, first-term Congressman and war veteran Tom Cotton ousted Mark Pryor.
Democrat Mark Udall has fallen to Congressman Cory Gardner in Colorado and has been attacked by some of his own supporters for being a one-trick pony in that campaign.
And
talking
Georgia
about one issue.
Was expected by many to go to a January runoff, but Republican David Perdue made it look easy against Michelle Nunn.
In Kansas, Senator Pat Roberts, he survives despite being down in the polls to independent Greg Orman.
Republican Shelley Moore Capito won easily in West Virginia, becoming that state's first woman elected to the Senate.
Another Republican pickup was in Montana, where voters are sending Steve Daines to the Senate.
South Dakota flips as well for Mike Rounds, despite sudden interest from Democrats late in the game.
And New Hampshire's the lone bright spot for Democrats, where Gene Shaheen survived Scott Brown's late surge and challenge. He ran a great race.
But questions remain. As of now, Alaska is still undecided, with Republican Dan Sullivan holding on to a narrow lead over Democratic Senator Mark Begich, who has yet to concede.
That really is an uphill battle. Steve Kornacki said it before. That looks like that's going Republican. Another state, an uphill battle for Democrats, Louisiana. It's going to a runoff after Senator Mary Landrieu failed to win outright.
And the big surprise of the night, an extraordinarily close race in Virginia. Incumbent Mark Warner, the apparent winner, could face a recount. Republican Ed Gillespie did not concede in his speech to supporters.
Welcome back to Morning Joe. With us, we've got NBC News' Tom Brokaw and the associate editor of Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst Gene Robinson. Tom Brokaw. I was saying this last night. That over the past 20 years, we've had a hostile environment in Washington, D.C. Over the past 20 years, the Republicans have held the House 16 of 20 years. Democrats have won the popular vote in presidential elections 16 of 20 years. The Senate, 10 years Republican, 10 years Democrat. We're a 50-50 nation. It's almost like a tennis match where one side holds serve, then the other side holds.
Yeah, and is it a seismic shift that will last for a long time? I think you got to be careful about that. You remember Newt Gingrich goes in '94, Contract for America. He lights up the Republican side, and he's gone within a couple of years because the president, Bill Clinton at that point, completely outfoxed him on it. It does remind me, however, of the morning after Newt Gingrich, and especially the morning after Ronald Reagan was elected president of the United States in 1980. It was a different country the next day. We had a Republican, conservative, out of the West come into Washington. But he was the president. This is the Congress. The Democrats still have the White House. The question is, how does the White House deal with all this?
And to follow up on your point, Ronald Reagan, a massive historic victory in 1980. He got pounded in 1982 in the midterms.
He did, and if you read the Reagan diaries, which I always recommend to people, he kept a diary every night.
Yeah.
He talked about compromise, the importance of it, raising taxes. He said Jack Kemp came in and he gave him unbridled hell. He said he doesn't understand. To get things done, you got to find the middle somehow. Somebody very familiar with the Obama White House said to me last night, send Joe Biden to the Hill. That should be their point man. The president doesn't like to do this kind of stuff. But Biden loves it, and he's pretty good at it, and he knows them. But they're starting from a deep deficit, obviously.
But Biden's been iced out for the past couple of years. Politico's leading with no Obama pivot after the midterms. I think it's impossible to write a story at 3 a.m. about what happened at 2 a.m. This is a little early. Barack Obama, by the way, somebody said, boy, you're being awfully nice to Barack Obama for saying, for the White House being defiant. This is a big punch in the gut. And you have to feel empathy for anybody sitting in that office that is endured what they endured. I think they'll come around and realize they've got 2 years and they're dealing with a Republican board of directors, and even though they're CEO, the two are going to have to talk to each other.
It's a huge punch in the gut. The White House is going to be having a news conference today.
Yeah.
What are the options, Gene, moving
sure they're
forward?
looking forward to that.
Oh.
You talk about an option. Let's talk about one big issue. Immigration, comprehensive immigration reform. The president has said that after the election, he's going to do the maximum he can do on his own authority, which is apparently a lot. That would be a polarizing thing, especially given the Republican victory speeches last night, which were almost uniformly, as if reading from a script, open-armed and inviting the possibility of compromise and moving ahead on big issues. So it seems to me that if you're the president, you've got to have that conversation, right, at the bare minimum before you do anything.
Mike, I think while we have, take something like immigration reform that Gene brings up, I think we may actually go back to the old way of doing things, the old way of fighting politically, where the president wants to do a lot more than the Republicans want to do in immigration reform, but they get something done. And then they fight about the margins, but they actually get something done. I find it hard to believe. This morning we had Jerry Moran coming on. And, you know, he actually mocked fellow Republicans that told him when he first got there, we're not going to get anything done. We're doing this time and time and time again. But just as you had Republicans coming in 2010 that thought everything was an indictment against Barack Obama and an activist government, these candidates seem to understand that this is an indictment against Washington gridlock.
Yeah,
and by the way, yes, I am more optimistic than everybody else.
That's why it's clear that the tone of today's press conference by the President of the United States, his tone is going to be critically important as to what happens and where things go, not only over the next 6 or 7 weeks with regard to anything being done in the short term on things like immigration, but he's going to set a tone for his reaction to dealing in a new environment. And one of the elements of that is going to have to be the increased deployment of the Vice President of the United States, whose natural habitat is the give and take of Congress.
One important thing, I think, is that the president called Tom Cotton in Arkansas.
I think he has to do it. I get you on Biden, but
congratulatory message from the president personally. This is a president who does not easily pick up the phone.
I know.
So, you know, is this the start of something new?
And it's a vice president who doesn't easily hang up the phone.
That's true.
You also have to remember that it's in the Republicans' interest to do something about immigration. They won't want to go as far as the president does. That Hispanic vote, which was not as much in the president's corner this morning as they were 2 years ago, those voters, but it's large. I mean, that is a really hot button issue out there. If you just dial back and remember when the kids were coming up from Guatemala and Central America, they were all up and down the border. People said, we don't want them here, even though they're going to be in federal facilities. They didn't want them even near them at that point. And a lot of that goes to what I think is a number of voters feel like they're losing the America that they grew up with, and they want it back in some fashion, and they don't want something that comes along to threaten the America that they grew up with. Look at all the polling last night. They feel the American dream is going away, that their kids won't have the lives that they've had. So
that's the data out there, that they aren't going to have the lives. I mean, our children are not going to do as well. It's not just that they feel America is slipping away.
And by the way, we have some students here.
Yes. You're not going to do as well as your parents.
The data is... Hey, hold on a second. The data is wrong. I've been saying it for some time. The next generation is going to be one of the most prosperous American generations
I like
in 50,
your optimism.
75 years.
All right.
It really is. I'm with Warren Buffett on that one. There are a lot of naysayers that don't think that's going to happen, Mika.